There are a number of reasons why people should learn classical languages like ancient Greek and Latin. Some of those may be related to language learning itself, what it's like to learn ancient languages that are, in a way, more complex, more structured. Another reason might be to access the foundational literature that shaped the way in which a lot of Western countries developed and the way they thought and how that determined their own literary tradition and religious traditions for that matter. There's a number of reasons why it's important to learn classical languages like Greek and Latin. But what I would like to do right now is introduce you to two other languages that are, in my opinion, just as important and arguably as influential, not just for the Western world, but also for the West and the East, sort of as a combined historical tradition. And when I say East, I'm referring to the Near East, the Middle East, basically the Fertile Crescent starting from Mesopotamia and moving outward. And those two languages are two Semitic languages called Akkadian and Aramaic. Akkadian and Aramaic both were utilized by the Assyrian Empire, and these languages have left such a mark on the world, both in terms of the East and the West. In the West, of course, we typically think of Greek and Latin as the backbone of that tradition, but also think of the influence of the Judeo-Christian tradition. By Judeo-Christian, I just mean the tradition of the Jewish religion as well as the Christian religion, as both emerge from a Semitic context. Now, Aramaic is maybe a little more recent than Akkadian. Akkadian seems to have died off around 2,000 years ago. There are some ways in which that language survived, or at least pieces of that language survived in modern dialects of Aramaic. Nevertheless, Aramaic and Akkadian both influence a lot of the region of the Middle East today that would speak things like Arabic or Hebrew, and the many dialects of Arabic, for instance. So to know that background, to know that that backbone and basis of how the Middle East forms, and then how it intersects and interacts with the Greco-Roman world at a certain point in history, is just as important to us today in the West as, say, learning Greek and Latin. And believe me, I'm a major fan of Greek and Latin. I think a lot more of our students should grow up learning these, or at least touching them, feeling them, experimenting with the language and getting to know them. They don't need to know them to perfection, but they certainly are foundational, and they really help in a number of different domains, from language learning to medicine and history beyond. So if you haven't heard of Aramaic or Akkadian before, I think you should think of them in that sense of classical language learning and give them a try. Open up a book and do some more digging in terms of Akkadian or Aramaic, and let me know what you come up with. If you've heard of them before, leave a comment. If you have not heard of them, leave a comment. If you've studied either of them or both of them and you have observations, let me know what you think, and if you agree with me and whether these should be studied by our youth today.